In the year 870 AD, the bitter winds of winter whipped through the Viking village of Norheim, nestled deep within the fjords of Norway. The distant sound of the sea crashing against the cliffs echoes in the background as a sense of foreboding hangs in the cold air. You are 16 years old, standing tall before the village chieftain, your father as stern-faced beside you as he negotiates a marriage that will define the future of your family. As the sun begins to set behind the mountain peaks, the flickering torchlight of the long houses casts shadows over the assembled crowd. The voices of the men ring out, bargaining for dowries and promises of loyalty. This isn't a wedding for love, it's a bargain, a strategic alliance forged in the blood of Viking honor. You are a pawn in this high-stakes game, but today, you don't get to choose who you marry. Your future has already been decided by your father, a powerful warrior in the tribe. The union ahead will cement alliances, expand your family's territory, and ensure your tribe's survival against the constant raids and skirmishes of the Norse world. This is not about your heart. It's about power. Viking marriages were an essential aspect of Norse culture, serving as a method to strengthen alliances, acquire land, and secure political ties. Marriage among the Norse was usually arranged at an early age, often when girls were as young as 12 or 13. These unions were a matter of survival in a world where loyalty to one's tribe was paramount, and a marriage could solidify peace or lead to war. Women in Viking society were revered, but their role was often centered around producing heirs, managing estates, and ensuring the lineage continued. As you stand in front of the crowd, your heart heavy with the weight of this decision, you realize the true cost of being a Viking bride. You are about to leave behind your childhood, your dreams, and your desires, all for the survival and prosperity of your people. In this moment, love has no place. Loyalty, strength, and power are the only currencies that matter. The cold stone walls of the longhouse echo with the sounds of bargaining, and the smell of roasted meat fills the air. Your father speaks firmly, his voice carrying the weight of years of hard-won respect. Across from you, the suitor's family stands, eyes calculating. The deal is being struck. But there's little warmth between the families. It's all business: your dowry, your family's land, your future role as a matriarch. Marriages among Vikings were not about the couple's happiness. They were business transactions, designed to secure power and alliances. Girls, often in their early teens, were married off to solidify their family's standing in the community. Dowries were often paid in livestock, land, and military service. In this moment, you aren't a daughter, you're a bargaining chip, your value weighed in gold and land. In Viking society, marriages were often arranged to secure alliances between clans and tribes. The role of the bride was to bear children, manage the household, and ensure that her family's name and honor continued. Love was a secondary concern. Marriage was about survival and the strength of family bonds. Your wedding dress isn't about beauty, it's about carrying the weight of your family's legacy, stitched together with promises of loyalty and land. The fire crackles as the marriage contract is signed, your dowry is accepted, and you, the daughter of a warrior, are about to be handed over to a man you've never met. The scent of burning wood mixes with the smell of animal hides as the village elders raise their goblets in solemn silence. After the wedding, you are no longer your father's daughter. You are a bride, bound by duty and tradition. You are expected to bear sons, manage your husband's estate, and serve as a vital part of the tribe's social fabric. The days are long and grueling. You wake at dawn, preparing meals, tending to the livestock, and learning the ways of the household. It's not a life of luxury. It's a life of labor, of ensuring that your family's name carries on. Women in Viking society held a great deal of responsibility, often managing the household, finances, and even some aspects of the family's military duties when the men were away. Viking women were also skilled in weaving, brewing, and animal husbandry, all of which were vital to the tribe's survival. Marriages often involved an exchange of property, and women were seen as the bearers of heirs, ensuring the continuation of the family name. Your life is not about romance, it's about survival, strength, and carrying the weight of generations on your shoulders. But that weight is also a shield, protecting you and your family from the brutal world around you. As the years pass, you begin to realize that your role as a Viking bride isn't simply about serving your husband, bearing his children, or keeping the hearth warm. The longhouse you call home, once a place of safety and warmth, has now become a battlefield. Not one of axes and shields, but of whispers, icy glares, and the delicate dance of survival. The rivalries between the wives, concubines, and other women in your clan intensify. You may have once thought that a bride's life was filled with adventure and honor, but now, you know the truth. It's a life spent constantly navigating a web of envy, jealousy, and betrayal. You are a 22-year-old bride now, and the pressure to secure your family's future has only grown. It's not just about loyalty to your husband, it's about loyalty to your place within the household. The other women in your husband's life are not your friends, they're your competitors. Each one of them wants a piece of your power, and they'll stop at nothing to take it. A simple mistake, a moment of weakness, could have devastating consequences. You're always on guard, constantly watching for the slightest shift in the balance of power. Every time your husband leaves for a raid, the longhouse becomes a place of whispered gossip and backroom deals. One of your rivals might butter up the cook, then offer a tribute to your husband, trying to push you out of favor. Another might make sure the children's clothes are always impeccably clean, knowing it will earn a compliment from your husband when he returns. They learn the smallest details about your family, your weaknesses, and your fears, using them to their advantage when the time is right. But you learn fast. Your husband may have married you for your family's connections, but it's your cunning that will ensure you keep your place in his bed. One evening, a rivalry erupts into full force. One of your co-wives, Sigrid, who has long admired your position as the first wife, corners you in the storeroom. She smiles sweetly, offering you a drink. For your health, she says. But her eyes are colder than the winter wind sweeping through the cracks in the longhouse walls. You decline, the smile falters, but she presses the matter. You know, we could have so much more, she says, her voice honeyed but with an undercurrent of threat. If only you knew how to play the game better. You understand. She's telling you that your position in this household is at risk. It's an unspoken challenge, a call to battle without words. The next morning, a rumor spreads through the village as Sigrid is pregnant. The news stings like a blade in your chest. If she's carrying your husband's heir, everything could change. Your status could plummet. Your position as first wife could be stripped away. But you know this game well. You smile, nod, and pretend to be happy for her. It's what a wife must do, isn't it? But there's a twist. You overhear Sigrid talking with a maid later that evening, boasting about how she's tricked your husband into thinking the child is his. You have no proof, but you know this game all too well. A woman's words can carry more weight than her body in a Viking society. The rules are simple. He who controls the stories controls the future. That night, you go to your husband's side, sweetly asking him to walk with you to the edge of the fjord, the soft sounds of the waves lapping against the shore. With each step, you whisper to him the details of Sigrid's deceit. You weave the story carefully, hinting that perhaps the child isn't his, and maybe there's more to the affair than he knows. You're not confrontational, just quietly insistent. Viking society placed significant emphasis on honor, not just for men, but for women as well. The role of a wife or concubine was critical to the family's survival, both in terms of securing alliances and managing resources. Rivalries between women in Viking households could be as intense as those between men. Power within the household wasn't just about love, it was about securing your family's future and protecting your place in the social hierarchy. In the world of the Vikings, survival means walking a razor-thin line between cunning and loyalty. Your heart and loyalty may belong to your husband, but your survival and that of your children belongs to your wit, your ability to navigate the volatile politics of the Viking world. One false move, and everything you've worked for could vanish. The power you hold today can easily slip away tomorrow, just as easily as a wave takes the shore. And in the world of the Viking bride, this is the only certainty you can rely on. Your position is never safe, and you're always one whisper away from being cast out. Welcome to the harem, where your rivals are as close as your own shadow. The difference is, they're carrying knives behind their backs. As you grow older as a Viking bride, you see the decline of the Viking Age. The raids become less frequent, the tribal alliances weaken, and the once proud warrior culture begins to fade into the annals of history. Your children are grown, and the future you once dreamed of is fading. The Viking raids that once brought wealth and power to your family are no longer as successful, and the political landscape is shifting. The old ways are dying, and you find yourself struggling to adapt. Your children, raised in the Viking tradition, are no longer bound to the old ways. They have their own dreams and desires that do not always align with the future you worked so hard to build. The Viking Age came to an end in the 11th century with the rise of Christianity in Scandinavia and the consolidation of political power in the region. Viking raids ceased, and the once decentralized Viking kingdoms began to merge into larger, more centralized states. The traditional Viking warrior culture gave way to a more feudal system. As the world changes, so too must you. But no matter how hard you fight to preserve the past, there's no escaping the future. Your legacy, built on the sweat, blood, and sacrifice of generations, will live on, but in a different form. Your life as a Viking bride was never about love. It was always about survival, power, and legacy. But when the tides of history shift, even the strongest ships must learn to sail in new waters. The tides of history are inevitable, but your legacy doesn't have to fade with it. If you're ready to learn more about how history's most powerful women fought against time and changed the world, hit that subscribe button now. You won't want to miss the next chapter of these untold stories. Because sometimes, the past is more alive than we think. If you had to fight for your legacy, would you hold on to the past, or adapt to the future? Subscribe now to discover the forgotten lives that shaped history, because what's been lost can still be found.